This is the last chapter in this series. The spring of 1945 found the soldiers of General Stanisław Maczek's 1st Polish Armoured Division in an unusual position. They had liberated towns across Belgium and the Netherlands. They were celebrated as heroes in Breda. Yet, the war was not over. For months, the division sat along the Maas River, watching the German frontier. Allied commanders believed victory was close. Then came the Ardennes offensive, the Battle of the Bulge. Hitler's final gamble showed that Germany could still attack. The Polish division was not sent to fight, but defenses were strengthened, patrols increased, and the Poles spent the winter waiting and watching. There was local fighting around the German bridgehead at Kapellschwyr, Operation Elephant. Several attempts to eliminate it ended in failure and heavy casualties. It was a reminder that even in the final months of the war, the German army remained dangerous. However, by early April 1945, the strategic picture had changed beyond recognition. The Western Allies had crossed the Rhine. Germany was collapsing from every direction. What remained was the final drive into the heart of the Reich. On the evening of April 6th, orders arrived. The 1st Polish Armoured Division would return to offensive operations. The division left Breda and began a rapid march east. Within days, Polish tanks crossed the Rhine and entered Germany itself. 6 years earlier, Germany had invaded Poland. Now Polish armored columns were rolling into the Third Reich. However, the advance was anything but easy. North Germany was flat, marshy, and crossed by canals. Retreating Germans blew up bridges and turned every water obstacle into a defensive position. To overcome this and not get trapped in costly frontal battles, the division used speed, reconnaissance, and constant pressure. Whenever possible, bridges were seized before demolition charges could be detonated. German strongpoints were bypassed, and momentum became a weapon. Resistance varied from determined rearguard action to complete collapse. Every day brought fresh evidence that Nazi Germany was falling apart. German units surrendered in groups, entire formations disappeared into the countryside. Yet, isolated pockets of fanatical paratroopers and SS troops continued fighting in a hopeless situation. As the Poles advanced, they encountered the horrors of Nazi Germany, the camps. Near Westerbork, they liberated political prisoners. Elsewhere, they discovered concentration camps scattered across North Germany. In some places, prisoners had survived. In others, only mass graves remained. Then in April, the division came near Oberlangen. Polish forces reached Stalag 6C, a prisoner of war camp holding more than 1,700 women of the Polish resistance. Many were veterans of the Warsaw Uprising. The women first assumed the soldiers were British because of their uniforms. Only when they heard Polish did they realize who had arrived. Accounts describe scenes of disbelief, tears, embraces, and overwhelming emotion. Women who had survived the Warsaw Uprising suddenly found themselves liberated by soldiers from their homeland. Yet, even as these emotional scenes unfolded, the division continued north. The ultimate destination was Wilhelmshaven. The great naval base represented one of the last major military objectives remaining in northwestern Germany. As April turned into May, the Polish division moved through roads filled with refugees and surrendering German soldiers. Polish forces reached the outskirts of Wilhelmshaven on May 3, 1945. Initial attacks against the city's defenses met strong resistance. However, on May 4th, news arrived that the German forces in northwest Germany, Denmark, and the Netherlands surrendered to Field Marshal Montgomery. On May 5th, the garrison of Wilhelmshaven laid down its arms before the Poles, with Colonel Antoni Grudziński formally accepting the surrender. On May 6th, Polish troops entered and occupied the naval base, raising Polish flags over the city and port. Nearly 34,000 Germans were taken prisoner. The Polish division took part in overseeing one of the largest surrenders of German forces in northwest Germany. The long campaign that had begun in Normandy 10 months earlier was over. The men of the 1st Armored Division had fought not only to defeat Germany, they had fought to restore a free Poland. Instead, they watched as their homeland fell under Soviet domination. The country they had left in 1939 no longer existed. Poland was on the winning side of the war, yet millions of Poles felt that true freedom in Poland was gone. Many veterans faced a terrible choice. Returning home would mean persecution by the communists. Remaining in the West meant exile. But the story does not end here. Near the Dutch-German border, the town of Heron was placed under Polish administration. Its German inhabitants were relocated, and thousands of Polish former prisoners and veterans settled there. The town was renamed Maczków in honor of General Maczek. For 3 remarkable years, a Polish town existed on German soil. Maczków had Polish schools, churches, theaters, and newspapers. Nearly 300 marriages were celebrated there, almost 500 children were born, and thousands of people tried to rebuild their lives after the war. The advance of Maczek's division into Germany remains one of the most powerful chapters in Polish military history, a story of soldiers who helped free Europe.